Hey everyone, greetings from the beautiful Sacramento River in Redding, California. I wanted to talk today about a gear list for a non-technical 2-day mountaineering trip. Yesterday, my girlfriend and I climbed Mt Shasta, and while I have all of my gear here still packed up, I figured it would be nice to talk about what I brought, what I didn't bring, and how I packed it all. All right, to start, let's go over clothes. So I didn't bring that many clothes, and as you could tell, I didn't want to put them back on. I kept things pretty simple. I had one pair of running shorts, one pair of lightweight running socks. These are some smart wool socks. One pair, this is a fresh pair, but one pair of smart wool boxers, merino wool of course. One Arc'teryx sun hoodie. This is what I put on at the beginning of the hike, and this is what I took off when I got to this hotel and took a shower. So just one sun hoodie, no other base layers. And then a pair of long soft shell pants. These are the Arc'teryx Gamma pants. They work pretty great. As you can tell, oh, and then a hat. As you can tell, I didn't bring extra boxers. I didn't bring a pair of long johns. I didn't bring extra pants. I didn't bring insulated pants, none of that. I think clothing is probably one of the areas where you can keep things super simple. Now I do have some extra layers in this bag, but this was pretty much all of the clothing that I wore for the approach, for the hike, and then for the hike back down. In addition to the things that I wore, and the things on and in my backpack, I also brought a couple other things. That was a climbing helmet, trekking poles. These are really nice, they're by Camp. They have sort of an extended grip. They're made for ski touring. They work perfect for mountaineering because sometimes you're grabbing them up high, but as the slopes get steeper, it's really nice to have something a little shorter to grab onto. They also have some like permanent snow bales. I know with black diamond trekking poles, my snow bales are always falling off, so I found that these are really nice. And then I also brought a fanny pack. This is an Alpine Luddites. I think it's like a 4-liter fanny pack. It's definitely more than 2 liters. And let's go through what I brought in it. The fanny pack is really nice because it allows you to reach things while you're hiking, so you don't have to get into your backpack. And as you'll see, I didn't bring a huge backpack, so having a couple extra liters was really nice. I had a 2-liter Sea-Knock bag. While there was spring water and snow that we melted, we were going to filter the spring water anyway, so it was really nice to have that. I had Platypus Quick Draw, which is my filter. I had a 1-liter Hydra Pack little flask that was really nice for the fanny pack. It sort of shrinks down as you drink through it. I had a bunch of snacks in here that I didn't eat. Anytime I go up to elevation, and Mount Shasta is about 14,200 feet, I really don't get hungry, so I brought all these snacks. I ended up not eating them. And then in my fanny pack, I had my spork and my lighter. I think that was mainly just so I would know where they are, but not necessarily something I needed in my fanny pack. For this trip, I brought a 40-liter backpack. I really didn't want something too big, given it was just an overnight trip, and also given it was a mountaineering trip, so we would be ascending in the morning, and you really don't want a big backpack for that. So the backpack I brought was a Cold World Valdez. I have a video about this backpack where I go over it in detail. It's really perfect for a mountaineering trip like this. It has enough room that you can fit the essentials, but not too much that you bring anything you don't need. All right, let's go over what's on the outside of the pack. Then I'll go over the brain, and then we can go inside. So on the outside, I have a pair of steel 12-point crampons. These are the Petzl Irvises, I believe. Then I have a black diamond ice axe. I prefer this over a traditional sort of perfectly straight PLA, because if there's ever sort of front pointing or you're plunging the pick of the ice axe, I really like having a little curve so that your knuckles aren't running into the snow. I've added some self-amalgamating tape to make this a little bit easier to grip, but this was the ice axe, sort of longer than something like just a ski touring or ice climbing ice axe, so perfect for something like Shasta. Then I have some snow stakes. I wasn't sure if we were going to do snow camping, and I have a horrible fear of my tent flying away. So while you could do something like a dead man with traditional stakes, I think snow stakes are, just an easy solve. I brought 4 of those. Then I have my climbing boots. These are the La Sportiva Equilibriums. Again, sort of a perfect boot for what we're doing. You don't need something that has a full shank. You don't need something that's super insulated. The La Sportiva Equilibrium is super lightweight and perfect. I will say these are on the backpack because we did the approach in trail running shoes. Again, sort of a personal preference, but I think when you're doing a long approach or an approach that is non-technical, having your running shoes is pretty good, whether it's Shuxon, Baker, even Whitney. Like if you're doing some of these mountains where you have a long approach on a moraine or just sort of scree or trails, I really think carrying the shoes is the way to go. On the back side of the pack, or maybe it's the front side, I have a little radio with a Dyneema tether on it. Then I have a little phone pocket because this pack is pretty bare bones, where I keep some chapstick. Clearly I didn't use enough, but I like this Dermatone. It doesn't freeze and it works fairly well. And then I have a lanyard for my phone. This is more spliced Dyneema that I did with a little DMM locking carabiner. I believe this is rated for 4 kilonewtons, so if you need to bail, you have an extra little bail carabiner right there. Let's move on to what I have in the brain of the pack before getting on to the inside. So in the brain of my backpack, I have my glacier glasses. These are a cool pair of Evil Eye glacier glasses. Oh my gosh, the sunscreen's everywhere. But they have a little nose hood on them and cheek protector. They're great. My great, wonderful girlfriend got them for me. Then I have a GoPro. I have a little bit of GoPro footage, but it ended up dying and I didn't put in a new battery. Then I have a digital camera. This is the Ricoh GR3. Pretty lightweight, so good for something like this. Let's see. That was at the and then this is, I took a buff and I cut it in half, and this was to protect my forehead if I needed some forehead protection. I found that sometimes with hats and helmets, your forehead can miss getting protected, and then you can get a nasty little forehead burn, so that's what that little headband's for. On the inside of the brain, and again, this is a super simple pack, I have my climbing first aid kit, as you can see. There's a toothbrush in there, and then I have my little Dyneema Ditty bag. So let's go into the inside. This isn't packed in any order that would make sense to somebody other than it being the best for how compact I can pack everything down, if that makes sense. So I have a 6-liter dromedary on top. This was so that we could melt snow on the first day and have water when we came down from the mountain. This means you're just melting snow once and you don't have to do it tons of times. I found that that's really helpful. So nice to have a lightweight dromedary like that. Then I have the inside of my tent. I brought my Sling Fin Portal 2. It is perfect for something like this. I would call it a 3+ season tent. It's sort of like a copper spur on steroids. So there's the outside. Then I have the rain fly. I brought the tent body and the stakes, and then my girlfriend brought the poles. I've got some gloves. This is by a company called Free the Powder. These are just some lightweight climbing gloves. I guess they're really lightweight skiing gloves, but they work really well for climbing. They have a pair of liners, but they're not super insulated. I think these were perfect for something like Shasta. If I would have gotten colder, I would have just put in some hand warmers and I would have been good to go. Then I have the blow-up sack for my mattress. I've got a Nerona hard shell. I think anytime you're in a big mountain, and this is like a pretty gnarly hard shell, you need a rain jacket. I think that's just how it goes. I thought about bringing a lighter rain jacket, but I figured, you know, why not bring the stuff that I've got that's made for this stuff, and that would really protect me and mean that rain, snow, probably wouldn't snow, but rain or specifically wind wouldn't mean that we couldn't summit. Up next, I have my socks. I brought some big, darn tough mountaineering socks with some sock liners. Blisters, we heard people talking about blisters on their heels while we were walking up the mountain. It's incredibly common, especially if you're renting boots. So having good blister protection with your socks, taping your heel beforehand, like that's how you set yourself up for success so that you don't have horrible, horrible blisters. Also not doing the approach in your big boots. It's another way to not get blisters. Okay, then I have a super lightweight inflatable pillow. I think this is just a cheap one from Amazon, but it's really nice because it has a pad strap. I have a Mammut balaclava here. This is really nice because it's a buff and then some. It gives you really good face protection from the sun and the wind and anything that would come your way. The only issue is that it's kind of warm, so when the sun comes up, I sometimes take this off because I overheat and then I get some like nasty sunburn where I don't have my face protector. Then I have some crumpled up rain pants. These are great if it gets cold or windy. They're unzipped because I had them on for the glaciating. If you're going to do glaciating, rain pants are great for that. Okay, I have a Rab soft shell jacket. I really like this one. I think it is the Borealis potentially. It is a super light soft shell jacket. It has some good ventilation via these zippers, and the zippers are placed so that if you're wearing a climbing harness, the zippers in the pockets don't get in the way. All right. I then have a Rab down jacket. While this is small, this is incredibly warm. This is 1,000 fill down. This is the Mythic G, I believe. It's a little bit fancy. I don't think everybody necessarily needs something like this, but it was perfect because it packs down so small and it's so warm. I have an Alpha Direct hoodie as my fleece for this trip. I actually didn't end up wearing it. It would have been kind of hard to put on while we were hiking, so maybe that was a miss. Maybe having one with a bigger zipper would have been helpful, but I love how small these are, how warm these are. If it would have been colder, I definitely would have worn it. I have here now my sleeping bag, which is not a sleeping bag. It is an Enlightened Equipment quilt. This is their 20-degree quilt. I love quilts. I have like 4 or 5 Enlightened Equipment quilts at all different degrees. My girlfriend actually ended up getting one because she saw how great quilts are. I think they're really great for mountaineering because of how variable the conditions can be and the temperatures. So love this quilt. Was maybe in the 30s at night at the camp at Helen Lake. So a 20-degree quilt with 2 people in a tent was pretty perfect. What else do I have? Then I have my stove here. All right, so this is sorry for all the static. This is a Nylaflume pack liner, really great for keeping things dry. Fire maple stove, which is just a knockoff jet boil with 1 small isobutane can. I think we pretty much used it up given how high we were, how bad the stove is, and how much snow we were melting. We probably melted 6 or 8 liters altogether. And then I've got my tent stakes. Other than that, I have the remnants of my food, which is pretty much all of the snacks from my summit day because, again, I really didn't eat that much. And then what's missing is the freeze-dried meal that I had. So, as you can see, pretty bare bones. That's everything that's in this pack. Let's go over what's in my Ditty bag. I think people talk about them a lot, especially, those PCT thru hikers, but this is the bag where pretty much anytime I'm going to put on a backpack, I'm going to bring this bag. It has everything that I need and that I want. And what's missing from this bag? Let's see. Earplugs are missing because I use them, and face wipe. Those are the 2 things that I used that are probably not going to be here, although I might have some extras, so we'll see. In my Ditty, hand warmers. I used a pair of hand warmers that also aren't here, but I've got a pair of toe warmers. I have an emergency blanket, some salt shoes, which are chewable electrolytes, some Neosporin with Leukotape on the outside for blister management, chapstick. This is some Joshua Tree chapstick. Oh, it's SPF 15. I don't understand if everybody else is lying or if these guys are just like lame or late to the game. But SPF 15, it tastes great, but it's just not what I'd hope for. This is a real pro tip. This is Blue Lizard. This is zinc sunscreen. It's 50 plus. It is a little stick that you rub on. I hate getting sunburnt on the mountain. I always get sunburnt, as you can see, but this zinc sunscreen helps me try not to. Then I have some melatonin. I found that taking a teeny weeny bit of melatonin can be really helpful for getting to sleep at 7, 8 p.m. when you're gonna wake up at midnight, 1, 2, 3 a.m. So melatonin's always good. A little strip of Gear Aid adhesive patch. Then a tiny little towel that you can add water and it will expand. I've got my eye mask here. Another tip, you're going to bed at like 6 or 7. You want an eye mask. It'll really help you sleep. USB-C charger, micro USB, iPhone charger to make sure I can charge all of my electronics. Another piece of the gear tape. Then a smattering of earplugs. At these base camps, especially something like Helen Lake, there are going to be tons and tons of people. They will not go to bed the same time as you, but you don't want to let that hold you back from getting the hours of sleep that you need for climbing a whole mountain. So earplugs are a necessity. Even at any campground, really. If you're going to a state campground, like there's going to be kids running around at all hours of the night, so earplugs are helpful. I have a Garmin InReach. I don't think I really necessarily need one anymore with Apple's satellite communication, but I feel like doing this type of stuff, you really need a satellite communicator, so I still have one and bring one. And I have some reflective tape on there. And then I have a power bank. This is by Nightcore. This is 10,000 milliamp hours. This is great. It's got USB and USB-C, so you can charge all your stuff. And then I've got a little adapter for USB-C to Garmin to charge my watch. And then I have my headlamp, which is the Garmin, whatever it is, NU25UL. Great lightweight headlamp. You really don't need a super strong headlamp for doing mountaineering on snow and glaciers. If you're doing something like rock, you might want something that can go a little bit further. But if you're on snow or glacier, the sky a lot of times will light up and the moon will give you a great view of where you're walking, but also you sort of just need to see 10, 20, 30 feet in front of you on these really sort of easy to follow routes. So just like a lightweight, simple flashlight. That's pretty much it. This is, again, what I bring on pretty much all of my trips. This was everything I brought on my trip yesterday, this weekend to Mount Shasta. I think this is perfect for a trip like Shasta where it is 2 days, 1 overnight, where you aren't doing any technical mountaineering. And by technical mountaineering, I mean something that's on a glacier or on rock where you want a harness, rope, protection, stuff like that. This would be perfect for something like Mount Shasta via Avalanche Gulch, the West Face, or even the Clear Creek route, something like Mount Adams, something like Mount Whitney, or you pick your mountain in the Cascades. I hope you enjoyed this video, and like always, I hope you're able to go outside soon.